LMPD Chief Paul Humphrey joins us this morning. We're glad to have him here to answer some questions about what's happening in the city.
Good to see you.
Yeah,
Likewise.
thank you.
Thanks for having me.
I want to start with the resignation of LMPD Officer Alyssa Begel. For folks at home who may not recognize that name, she's an LMPD officer, now former LMPD officer, who was going 95 miles per hour. She hit a driver who was drunk. She didn't have her lights or siren on, and she was given a 30-day suspension initially. She has since left the police department. Some people want to know why she was not fired.
So when you look at this entire situation, first of all, this is just a tragic accident is what this starts off as. And you're talking about a family who's lost a loved one. So, and then ultimately you're also talking about someone whose career with LMPD is over. And so when we look at the totality of the situation, I think we keep the focus on the family. The family is dealing with this tragedy still to this day. And at the same time, her employment with LMPD is over. And so she's going to have to start a new chapter in her life as well. I think the punishment is more than sufficient. And, you know, I wish her the best at this point.
Will she have an opportunity to work in law enforcement elsewhere, given that there was no punishment really received because she left before she could have it?
So that her case was adjudicated, and so her punishment stands as what it was. So it doesn't mean that she skated punishment or anything like that. That stays on her record, and that's what any other agency in the country would see. And I don't think that this is a situation that meets the state criteria for decertification. So whatever happens with her career going forward is no longer up to LMPD.
I wondered if you've spoken with Charles Briscoe's family. He was the other driver, of course, that ended up, they found that he was drunk there at the scene after he had passed. Talk to me just a little bit about what you would say to them if you had not talked to them. Have you talked to them?
I have not. It's just like I said, I couldn't imagine losing a loved one so tragically, so quickly like that. I think we've all had, you know, people who have died from accidents and things like that. It's a horrible situation, and so my heart still breaks for them to this day. I know they're good people. I do know people in that family, and he's a good man, and it's a good family. And so it's a tragic situation. It's absolutely horrible for everybody involved.
This kind of leads into police accountability with Ed Harness, who is the Inspector General, just got a new appointment for another term. I think people in the community want to know that police officers are held accountable to policies. They want to know, like in this Begel case, that she is held accountable for breaking policy at LMPD, because we are held accountable to the law as well. Right. Ed Harness has described your relationship as cold. How would you describe it, and what does that need to look like between the two offices, Inspector General and LMPD, for the community to get the most benefit out of it? Right,
and I think we don't have to be friends to be able to work well together, and I think we both have put forth efforts to improve our lines of communication, and now that he's going to be reappointed, I assume once Metro Council accepts that nomination by the mayor, that he'll be reappointed. We'll continue to work to make sure that we communicate better. I think a lot of the tension between the offices are based on communication, but also understand this, we're not supposed to be friends, right? This is a professional relationship. We are supposed to be able to give feedback back and forth, particularly from him to us about the job that we're doing, and from him to the public about the job that we're doing. And we're more than happy to accept that feedback.
Were you disappointed in that decision when the mayor announced it?
To me, it doesn't matter who sits in that seat. I'm willing to work with anybody that's there. I think the position is an important position for the community. I think it can be an important position for LMPD to get valuable feedback on how we can improve. And when we talk about discipline, understand that discipline doesn't just mean that people are fired. When you talk about so you understand, in the state of Kentucky, the maximum suspension that we can give someone is 30 days. Oh, that is it. Okay, I didn't know it's either 30 days or termination. So that, you know, you're talking about almost 3 months of salary that would be lost, including all the time that, you know, people are off otherwise. So don't think that 30 days is not discipline. Can you imagine losing your salary for 30 days, which accumulates up to almost, you know, 2.5 months of salary? That's a pretty severe discipline, and something that will stay with that person for the rest of their career.
You have a lot of oversight. You've got civilian accountability, you've got the Office of the Inspector General, we have this independent monitor that came about from the consent decree that never really happened. How do you work with all of those groups, and is it too much?
So Internally, what we have to do is we have to make sure that we police very well. This is about leadership and getting officers to understand that we are asking them to do a complicated job. We're asking them to do it in stressful conditions, and that we're going to give them the appropriate feedback to do it even better. And I think our command staff, our leaders within the department, are able to manage that very well. And then the job is going to be mine to make sure that we communicate with these other entities so that they understand what we're doing. We get the feedback that we need, but ultimately this is about keeping people safe and doing it the right way. And I think every person employed for LMPD, whether sworn or civilian, is dedicated to doing that.
We've talked a lot about how crime is down, and that's certainly something worth noting, something that's worth celebrating around here because it's something we've dealt with for a long time. At the same time, we're seeing a lot of kids involved in crime, and we've also reported on that extensively. What still needs to be done to stop that?
Well, we talk about the juvenile crime, and just to put it in perspective, juvenile crime, just as everything else, has dropped as well. It just hasn't dropped at the same rate as some of our adult crimes. But this is a larger community issue. This is a larger societal issue. We're not the only city facing this juvenile issue, and I think we as a community have to approach this from every route. Obviously, there needs to be punishment. We have to go out there and enforce the law, and kids need to be kept in jail when they're violent or a danger to the community. But we have to get to these kids before that ever happens. And I'm not talking about getting to a 16-year-old after they've stolen their first car or they've been kicked out of school. I'm talking about getting to young parents of young kids, so that they have the life skills to avoid being involved in that lifestyle in the first place. And so we have to take this from every approach, whether it's from the school system, the churches, the neighborhoods, the families. Every side of this needs to be able to own their part of it. And so from an LMPD standpoint, we have to own the enforcement side of this, and we have to own the ability to get to some of these kids and identify them and get them to the resources that they need before they go all the way down that route.
This is a double question. One, will it help you to get a youth detention center open again in Louisville? And two, what is working? What do you credit with the drop in crime?
So a couple of things. One, I do think that a youth detention center locally will help. One, I think it's not fair to these kids that do commit crimes that they're shipped off 2-3 hours away from their family, away from their legal representative, and also having to be brought back to court on a bus ride for 2.5 hours. It's absolutely not the right thing to do. Plus, I think we would have an ability to give better resources and support inside of a local facility as opposed to sending them off to Adair County or Boyd County or wherever they're going. That being said, I think there's a combination of things that are helping with our crime rates. Is one, we're getting a lot of community help, but two, we have officers that are out there working their butts off. If you understood the challenges that we face, not just with manpower, but we did have an extreme spike in crime. We did have an environment that was very, very, nitpicky, scrutinizing the department to the point where officers didn't feel comfortable being able to do their work. And now I think they feel comfortable that they can go out there, they can do the work, they can get feedback that they need to do it better. And ultimately, those increased contacts with people is what's going to have the most effect on crime.
Visibility.
Visibility and interaction, whether it's enforcement-wise or just that average interaction on the street where an officer is talking to a citizen. Those things matter, and it goes a long way, and officers are out there doing that. We're very proud of them.
All right, LMPD Chief Paul
Thank
Humphrey,
you.
appreciate
your
your
time.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.